I was paid to write this, so it might not be it might be a little forced, but I still think it sounds kind of good. So, um, yeah, I just chose a random title. This may change. I don't really like it, but it kind of fits the theme. Hoya pressed her pestle into the mortar with the same hate she felt for the priest. So stubborn he was, relying on words and incantations to heal others, as if a few kind words from the verdant book would heal the hundreds of people who had already come to their sanctuary for help. She could not take the pained, moaning, and daily woes much longer. The leaves finally became a nice paste in the mortar. Using oils and ground up Kessler tree bark would be a good would be good for their lesions, and for their throat infections an alcohol mixed with falma berry juice and an acid produced from an unhealthy moss that grew only in forests with fruit in them. She began to walk from the monastery's kitchen into the courtyard, a wide open space in the middle of a large historic building where the diseased were huddled in. Many of the strangers had grown to know her. Hoya was the one who would give them food and water and would give them blankets at night when the cold pressed their illnesses. She had already tried a similar mixture before with and with her new additions she was certain it would work. "Miss Hoya, where do you think you're going?" She jolted in surprise and turned to face the priest. "Oh, Priest Gian, I was just going to give them some food and—" "Enough! I know that is not mere food and drink. Hand over those forbidden items at once." She was more disappointed than angry at him, though that would come later. She held back tears and handed him the medicine she had made. He walked away hastily, shouting something about who would dare supply her with alcohol in such a holy place. She sat down next to an old woman in the courtyard. She dressed a bit nicer than the common diseased who spent their time there. Her defeated look brought the comforting touch of the old woman. "Onaha, mamma. I have exhausted my options. I cannot help these people. Surely the whole city is poisoned. Your priest speaks in gentle words, like a child trying to fight a soldier. His attempts fall softly against the aggressor filled with malice. But where in the verdant book is there anything about a plague? The gods would simply will it to vanish." She squeezed her watery eyelids hard as she searched her plain dress for additional stains from the medicine. The woman stroked her curly dark hair, so intruding on her own graying straight hair. In the book, the gods rewarded those who showed great potential and conviction. They would be the ones to save the people, not the gods. Go tonight to the tree that cries all the cosmos, and make an offering to the forgotten spirit Hoka. As an agent of the gods, she will give you what you need to heal our people. That night, Hoya snuck out of the monastery. She rarely left, but she forever longed. The forests surrounding her town were so beautiful. They always sang a little song about life and bounty. The colorful fruit and flowers adorned every little bush and every towering tree. She had heard of the lands where they did not have forests or flowers or fruits, and it made her cling to the world she would miss. She walked through the forest until she met the river and followed it to the small waterfall. Between the paths of the river sat an island with a tree as old as the monastery. Its roots draped down into the water and along the mouth of the cave behind the veil of water. The stars of the clear night sky reflected off the water, strangely calm, even after it fell from the tree's seat atop the waterfall. The galaxy's belt puffed up and painted the darkened scene with a purpley glow. This is where the tree cried all the cosmos. Someone had laid large stones in a path that led from her side of the river into a small cave behind the waterfall. It was a small cave, more like an indent or a retreat from the water itself. There sat a wooden statue the same height as Hoya, and surrounded by candles, already lit. The statue was of a creature with a seemingly female figure, but with horrifying features. Her neck was long, and it dangled off her shoulders like a fishhook on the line. Her hair was an entangled braid that covered the part of her face that was clearly eroding. The only part of her face that was not misshapen skull or decaying flesh was a singular eye. The iris was made of shifting stars that overlapped and turned. Her body diverged in the middle, as if someone had struck their hands through her lower chest and pried her apart. She had no legs, only spines that pointed to a tip and impacted the ground. Hoya stepped back at first, regretting her short adventure, but the statue released a ghostly mimic of itself. A woman floated forward, looked directly at Hoya. "Hello, my dear priestess. You have come to entertain me?" Its voice did not come from the spirit, but instead rang inside of Hoya's head as some kind of reverberating memory. When she did not respond, the specter slowly came forward and decayed at an incredible rate. The flesh and bone reduced itself to a pile of viscous ooze, and then bounced back up into a persona of a beautiful woman. "Don't be afraid. I'm Hoka, a friendly spirit. I I am looking for a way to cure the plague that has ravaged my world. My home is full of sick wanderers, and their deaths come by the thousands. Oh yes, a plague. A pretty woman like yourself once came to me for the same reason, long, long ago." Hoka's eyes now seemed almost human, but the overlapping stars in her eyes spun quickly and dizzyingly. "I gave her a type of blessing. When you touch your heart, and then the diseased, you shall consume all their ailment. All you need to do is come back to me. Come and see me, and I will consume their ailment in your heart. What happens if I do not meet you again? Then a new plague, one stemmed from your own heart, will emerge, much deadlier than the last." Hoka's head started to droop. The decaying image was beginning its cycle again. "I will take your blessing. I offer you the medicine I once used to cure the sick. It's a combination maybe interesting to you?" Pleased, Hoka held forth a wrinkled hand with long nails. She touched Hoya's heart and disappeared. The candles went out. Hoya wasted no time. Many strangers still woke in the late nights with pain from their disease. She did as she was told. First touched her heart, and then the ill patient. She did this again and again, until the whole courtyard had been touched with her blessing. She went to sleep, eager to see the results in the morning. However, the next morning was arrived at with screams. Hoya ran out of her room, still in her nightgown, to see that the strangers once diseased were now enraged. They sought blood and wrestled desperately against the nearest body. The courtyard was stained with blood. Blankets and books joined in the sea of dead. It was clear that they were no longer ill from the plague, but possessed by violence. The old woman from yesterday was gone, not among the bodies nor the bloodied accosters. Hoya ran from the monastery, assured that the priests would not stop her, as he belonged to the dead. She took the same route through the forest as she did the night before. She met the same river as she did the night before, but behind the tiers of the tree was nothing, not even a cove for the statue to sit. Yeah, I think it's kind of cool. It's open-ended. Um, it might help to know that I wrote this a long time ago, way before Corona. Actually, not that long ago, like 2 years ago. But if you were thinking it's about Corona, it's not about Corona.